I think I should have there.
Oh. Go shine off your forehead.
Are you TV ready? I see Joe in our back row, so we're good to go. 13. That's going to be whole Christmas. Guess I might need this. That's true. No. Good morning. I would like to call to order this meeting of your Fremont County Board of County Commissioners. I invite you all to rise with me this morning for an invocation by Joe Garkovich from Mercy Today Ministries, and please stay standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning, Joe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let us pray. Almighty God, we thank you for another day in which to serve you. As we gather this morning to do this important work, we pray that you would grant each of us an open mind and a compassionate heart as we hear the words of all who will speak this day. And we pray that you would give us wisdom and courage and compassion to make the decisions that are best for all who are concerned. And it's in his name that we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thanks, Joe. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bell.
Present.
Commissioner McFall.
Present.
Commissioner Payne.
Present.
County Attorney Jackson.
She will be late to our meeting, but she will be here.
Okay. County Manager Bryant.
Present.
Planning and Zoning Director Garrett.
Present.
Thank you. We move next to the approval of today's agenda. I would like to note, under the consent agenda, we are not scheduling a public hearing today for any time in the near future.
Madam Chair, seeing no changes, I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve today's agenda. Further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Up next is our consent agenda.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve today's consent agenda. Is there further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Motion carries.
We turn next to administrative and informational topics. Up first are staff and elected officials. We have a county treasurer's semi-annual report and public trustees' quarterly report. Kathy Elliott, our county treasurer, is unavailable to be with us this morning. Kelly Janice, our chief deputy, should be here.
Sure over there.
There she is. Good morning, Kelly. Come on up.
Front center.
For the fourth quarter of 2019, the Public Trustee Office processed 569 releases of deeds of trust with a total of 1,960 for the year. We initiated 15 foreclosures for the quarter with a total of 73 for the year. The ending balance for the year was $168,616.56, with $120,734.15 of that total being overbid money, which will be paid out to homeowners. The semi-annual report shows $16,491,409.43, which is approximately $1.7 million above the same period the previous year.
So I have a quick question for you on the trustee report. You've been here for a while now. I know
Uh-huh.
you've been working in the office, so you might have an idea of the history of foreclosures. Seems to me as though I remember foreclosures a few years ago being in the 200s range, and last year we're down to 73 total.
Yep.
So is that an accurate recollection?
Yeah, it is. They've just been slowly declining. The year before, I think we were at 94.
Do you know what our high was within the last 10 years or so?
I think it was like in the 300s, like 369 was the high.
So things really have
Yeah,
changed,
they've really dropped.
which is very good news for,
Yeah.
I think, everyone in
Yeah,
Fremont
it
County.
is.
Yeah.
A lot of times they will come in and they'll get withdrawn before they ever go anywhere. So we have a lot of those too, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
Gentlemen, do you have any further questions?
Thanks, Kelly.
I
Motion?
don't. I would move to accept the county treasurer's, well, we got to do two. I guess we can do both together.
Yes.
Public trustees quarterly report as well as the semi-annual report.
The treasurer's semi-annual
Treasurer's.
report. Yes, okay.
Second.
Can I say clerk?
It has been moved and seconded to accept the county treasurer's semi-annual report along with the public trustees' quarterly report. Further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner McFall?
Aye.
Commissioner Payne?
Aye.
Commissioner Bell?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly.
We turn next to our county manager, Sonny Bryant, who has not only a county manager's report, but a sales and use tax report for us this morning as well. Good morning, Sonny.
Good morning.
Morning.
So just a couple of updates. On Tuesday, February 11th, I attended the Penrose Chamber of Commerce meeting, and that's always good to get out and see what's going on in the community there. And then on Tuesday, February 18th, I had attended the managers luncheon, the regional managers. So it's really good to see what all of the managers in our area are working through, ways that we can collaborate and work together through those processes. So those are just the two quick updates I wanted to give on the manager's side. And then as far as the sales and use tax financial report, so the sales tax collections through December, in December, they came in at $532,641, which is up $114,086 from last year. Year to date, we are up $987,378. And so that is split between the general fund and the sales and use tax fund. On the auto use tax collections, I had briefly talked about this at the last meeting. So in December, we received $86,427, which is up $885 from last year. And year to date, we are down $50,180. But we did budget accordingly. We knew that 2018 was a huge year, and so we didn't forecast that we would continue to see those increases. In the construction use tax collections, in the month of December, we received a total of $30,451, which is up $43,247 from 2018. And year to date from budget, we are actually up $149,000 from what we had budgeted in 2019. And then the lodging tax came in at $255,528, which is up $19,623 from 2018. And then on the sheriff's 1% retail sales tax, in the month of December, it came in at $355,094, which is up $76,057 from last year. And year to date, we are up $658,252. And then the auto use tax came in at $57,618, which is up $590 from last year. Year to date, we are down $33,453, but like I said, we didn't forecast going into the 2019 budget that we would see that same increase. And then the sheriff's construction use tax came in at $20,301, so year to date we were up $28,927 from 2018. So that's
All
all I
right,
have.
numbers look good. Thank you so much, Sonny. Gentlemen, any questions for our county manager?
No, thank you, Sonny.
Any reports from the two of you? Well, absolutely. Good morning, Mr. Grantham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to thank the county commissioners. I approached them back last year toward the end of the year about locating a drop box at the county administration building. It was finally mailed to my office the day I sent out the ballots, so it wasn't in an official approved drop box by the Secretary of State's office. However, we did contact them and say we did get it in the mail. They said if you can put it up that week, will allow you to use it as a drop box for the county. So Wednesday, the maintenance crew installed the 24-hour drop box. The IT staff installed the camera, and we checked all the surveillance. It was good to go. And as of Tuesday of last week, we had that 24-hour drop box going and allow for people to drop off their ballots for this presidential primary. So I just wanted to thank the county commissioners for that.
All right, thank you, sir.
I used that box. You're welcome. I don't have anything, Madam Chair.
I'm good.
Well, you always know I have something to say. I just would like to share with all of you that we had the opportunity yesterday over lunch to take a few hours and to sit with the three of us, with our county manager and our county attorney, in an annual goal setting and goal review action. So we spent a few hours again looking at the list of goals that we have completed, not only as commissioners but within some of our departments. Over the last 10 years, we decided on the entire list that we had in front of us, the ones that still were important to us that we thought were priority, and there were a few that we were actually able to remove because in one way or another they've probably resolved themselves. Then we turned into our goals for this year. We all had an opportunity to speak up about what we think is important for the county, what we would like to personally work on, what we would like to see done. And I think it's a very constructive way for the county and the commissioners to just move forward. So I wanted to let you all know we did that yesterday. I think it was another really successful day, and I'm really excited about some of the things that we're looking at and have coming up. This is the time for citizens who may wish to address the commissioners on a matter not scheduled on today's agenda. Do we have anyone that would like to get up and speak at this time? I see none, but I would like to remind you, if you hope to speak during our public hearing this morning, you must fill out a form with information. They're on that table over there, and please bring it up to Sunny, our county manager. She'll pass it down, and we will call you up in the order that we received your slips. Moving on to old business for consideration. At our last meeting, we had before us a request for a conditional use permit 12-003 for a Dawson Gold major modification. We have resolution number 13 before us today. We had tabled the final decision on that last time. So we have a resolution before us today. I would like to read parts of this resolution, and then I will open it to my fellow commissioners for further comment. So resolution number 13, series of 2020. This is a resolution approving modification of conditional use permit, file number CUP 12-003, Zephyr Gold USA, the Dawson Gold Project. We had tabled this for findings of our last meeting, so I would like to read to you now some of the findings that we came up with. First and foremost, we had to understand this application is for exploring and not mining. Also, there is no obligation, promise, commitment, or duty for the county to approve any mining operations in the future, regardless of what the applicant learns from their current exploration activities. The financial security or insecurity of the applicant is a self-limiting circumstance. The required reclamation bond, when posted with the state of Colorado as required by law, further financial considerations are irrelevant to this board. Sorry. The application cannot conduct drilling operations without a source of water to use in that process. While the water may be reused, the depth of the drilling will require the use of a tank to hold that water. The applicant is well aware of the logistics required to get the water to the drill site and may require the use of a helicopter, pump and hoses, or other means without the use of roadways and vehicular traffic. The board finds this is an operational issue for the applicant to resolve. The acreage included in the exploration expansion request increases the total exploration area from 603 acres to 3,172 acres. However, the board also notes that the total affected area or surface disturbance in the original 603 acres was a mere 7.8 acres, and the proposed disturbance in the expansion area is 3 acres, which is a very minimal impact considering the entire size of the permitted area. With respect to the disruption of the wildlife in the area, The Colorado Division of Parks and Wildlife and the Bureau of Land Management have expertise regarding this issue. They are tasked by law with the protection of native wildlife. The applicant is required to adhere and comply with all recommendations from both of those agencies. The lighting proposed for the drill site is minimal and does not exceed the amount that is necessary for the operation. Then we have some legalese. I'm not going to read all the way through 17th. There are a lot of different things that we found that we needed to find, but I think those are the ones that are important. We also have conditions that start with A and go all the way through X. So I'm also not going to read all of those, but there are a few that I would like to highlight for you. I want to make certain that you understand that the applicant will be required to obtain prior written approval for any exploration activities for any exploration activities. No surface disturbance is allowed within 500 feet of Grape Creek. No construction of new roads or access on existing roads is permitted, except for the staging area at the terminus of County Road 20X. Protection of rare plant species. Again, consult and comply with parks and wildlife restrictions. Develop and comply with mitigation plans for any discovered cultural, archaeological, historic, and paleontological resources in any disturbance area. Reseed disturbed areas with only native seed mixes, and develop a weed control plan, including preparation and implementation of such a plan. And then further down, we had waiver requests before us. So this document includes waivers that have been requested and are being granted. Surfacing, for hard surfacing of parking. Lighting, all off-street business, commercial, or industrial may be required to be adequately lighted to protect the safety and individuals of the area. Any light shall not cast glare on surrounding properties. And landscaping, all parking spaces used for business, commercial, or industrial may be required to provide appropriate vegetation, but we are going to waive that. So I think those are the highlights. Gentlemen, do you have anything you would like to add?
Well, we've had a lot of discussion on Section 16, which is in the Colorado State Land Board Trust. And I've had two conversations with Bill Ryan. He's the chairman of the Colorado State Land Board, one in September and one about 2 weeks ago. So we're in constant contact with them regarding this section of land. And so they, I feel like, made it pretty tough on them. They have to helicopter in. There can be no driving on that state trust land. And so just to let you know, we have been in constant contact with them, and there's been a lot of conversation about the Section 16.
Yeah, so I'm probably going to kind of reiterate some of this, but these land use issues are some of the hardest part of this job. So you've got to take everything into consideration. There's people for issues, there's people against issues. We've got to rely on experts, or I rely on experts. In this case, we had the Division of Wildlife, who knows the wildlife. I'm a huge wildlife advocate. I believe in conservation of wildlife and protection of wildlife as well as land. These guys have set a date at which any exploration can be done because they know what the pattern of the animals are up there. We've also got, as Commissioner Payne just mentioned, the conditions set forth by the Land Board. There's 10 conditions which are very stringent. So I think we try to use all of that information to make a very good decision on these things and not just jump at some person's opinion, which wouldn't be the right thing to do. So that's what I've got.
With that,
All right.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve Resolution Number 13, approving the modification of the conditional use permit for 12-003, which contains the contingencies and the conditions and also our findings.
Second that, Madam Chair.
It has been moved and seconded to approve Resolution Number 13 for conditional use permit 12-003, Dawson Gold major modifications. This resolution and motion does include all findings, conditions, and contingencies. Is there further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye?
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All All right, we're up to new business for consideration this morning. Our first item on the agenda is a proclamation for the 2020 census. We have Beth Lenz with the Upper Arkansas. We don't. Who do we have this
She
morning?
was there.
She was here.
She was here. Well. Well, good morning. We have Judy
Wow,
Lonas
we
with
got
us.
Judy Lonas.
But she is also from the Upper Arkansas Area Council
morning,
of
Judy.
Governments.
Good morning.
Grab my notes and come up next. Grab Beth's notes. So, yes, Beth had to leave, so I'm pinch hitting. So it'll be
And you'll
easy
do
on
it
me.
wonderfully, I have no doubt.
So, yes, census proclamation. Census is occurring this year. The calendar is ticking. The forms will be coming out in March. Census Day is April 1st. You all know how important that is, and so we are just, as part of the Complete Count Committee, as is Sean and many of you in the room, we are just asking local governments and some of our local nonprofits to go ahead and do a proclamation about the 2020 census and its importance to our communities.
Thank you, Judy. I think, do you have a copy of this in front of you?
I do not.
Okay. I do.
Well,
So I'm not going to read the entire thing because there are a lot of whereas statements, but I would like to read the part, now therefore be it resolved that the Fremont County Board of Commissioners is committed to partnering with the U.S. Census Bureau and the state of Colorado and do, number one, support the goals and ideals for the 2020 census and will disseminate the 2020 census information. 2, encourage all Fremont County residents to participate in events and initiatives that will raise the overall awareness of the 2020 census and increase participation. Item 3, support census takers as they help our county complete an accurate count. And item 4, strive to achieve a complete and accurate count of all persons within our borders. So thank you for bringing this forward to us because we do understand, as I think any governmental entity would, the importance of getting a complete count. Thank you.
So I want to say a little bit too. You're going to start seeing, as you said, in April, March. Yeah, people will be. You have the ability to do these online, which is probably the best bet to do it. If you don't do it, they're going to start sending people out to addresses that didn't comply, for lack of a better way to put it. So you may see somebody in the neighborhood, but they're going to be clearly marked with a name badge as to what they're doing. And don't be afraid to question them because we don't want any scammers out there because we know that's kind of the way society is today. So be very careful, but those people should be very clearly marked to who they are with their name badges and what they're doing. And they won't ask your social security number and that type of stuff, so don't give that out. And as you said, it is very important because these do so many things. They determine the amount of federal monies that are given to places. They change senator district boundaries. They could change commissioner district boundaries. They could change all kinds of stuff just depending on where the populations are located. So it's very important that we get a very true and accurate account of everybody.
Okay.
Got anything?
Move to adopt, I guess that's
Yes.
proper terminology, the 2020 census proclamation.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to adopt the Fremont County Board of Commissioners 2020 Census Proclamation. Is there further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Commissioner Bethel.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. All right. Also turning to to not Beth Lenz, but to Judy Lonas from COG. We have a 2020 participation agreement with the Upper Arkansas Area Council of Governments for the Upper Arkansas Recycling Program.
So I believe you also have that agreement in your possession and hopefully before you. Beth only had asked me to just talk a little bit about the recycling events that we have scheduled for 2020. I will also say one of the things that we have really engaged in partnership with the county on is the recycling of electronics. And in 2019, 35,620 pounds of electronics were recycled with that partnership. So we thank you for your support and partnering with us on that. We have an event coming up April 18th at the City of Florence in their parking lot. There'll be another event September 12th or possibly the 19th. That's not set in stone yet. At Canyon City, 9th and Royal Gorge Boulevard. That's kind of our standard place for that one. On May 2nd, we're doing one in the West End, at the Glen Vista subdivision, and that is in partnership with the cleanup. And then there'll be an end-of-year one in December. I think Commissioner McFall had asked us to start doing that a few years ago. We find at Christmas time, people get new fancy electronics, and the old ones find their way into ditches and all kinds of places they shouldn't be. So we're hoping that by doing that between Christmas and New Year's event, that we're catching some of that and reducing that problem. The Bureau of Land Management also sees that problem, and they see it happening on their properties a lot, so they now are also supporting our recycling program, particularly with regard to those kinds of cleanups. So they are going to partner with us this year, and that will allow us to double the vouchers that are available to Fremont County during the cleanup of the county. So thank you to the BLM for supporting this as well. And then we are just asking that you continue your engagement with our recycling program and the agreement that was sent.
All right, thank you so much, Judy.
Thank you.
Commissioner McFall, anything else to add?
Just to kind of add on to that, it's pretty interesting. It took the electronics thing, it seems like a few years to kind of catch on, but people are starting to decide when they go try to get rid of an old TV or an old computer, it's very expensive. And this cuts the cost of that down tremendously. Even my in-laws can't wait for another one so that we take another TV or something. But the only problem that we have with the one after Christmas is this year the weather kind of slowed it down a little bit, so there are kind of contingencies on that. But it's a very good program, and having them in all kind of three parts of the county, it helps a lot, because we were having a lot of trouble out on the west end too. And as she said, that one up there is in conjunction with their community cleanup, so the neighbors up there start cleaning the roadways and everything else, so that helps to put those electronics in there too. So thank Beth for it, and she's not here, and she does a lot of work on this.
All right.
I just want to congratulate Judy on her retirement. What do you got, less than 30 days now?
Yeah, that's less than 30.
Okay.
Her answer was 7.5 for those of you
7.5.
who did not hear it. So I would consider that much less than 30 days.
Slightly less. With that, Madam Chair, I move to adopt a 2002 participation agreement with the Upper Arkansas Area Council of Governments for the recycling program.
I believe this would be an approval, not an adoption.
Of the 2020 participation.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the 2020 participation agreement with the Upper Arkansas Area Council of Governments for the Upper Arkansas Recycling Program. And thank you, Judy, for stepping in so capably for Beth this morning. And just as Commissioner Payne said, congratulations on your quickly arriving retirement. Well deserved. Anything else?
I had that 7 days on my mind, so I was messed up there. But yeah, Judy will be missed. I am the chairman of the board of the Council of Governments also, so it's going to be hard to fill that, but we'll finish with what we're doing here. Thanks, Judy.
All right, let's do roll call.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, we move next to item 3 under new business, a grant agreement with Electronic Recording Technology Board for the clerk and recorder. And we have with us this morning our clerk and recorder, Justin Grantham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Back when I took office in January, I was made aware of the ERTB grant. It's a specific grant that we collect extra fees on all recordings, and it's put into a pool under the Secretary of State's office to allow rural recording departments to start recording and preserve records digitally so they're not lost by time. And by doing this, it allowed some of our rural counties on the eastern side of the state and the western side of the state to move away from the Torrens system, which is more of a court real estate records and is a clerk and recorder real estate record. So I applied for this grant to digitize the rest of our archived plats, archived ditched plats, a lot of my filings that were older filings before the state became an actual state, and they approved $220,000 last year in April. And so going through this grant and finally getting everything started, we found gaps in what we should have, things that wouldn't pop up normally when you start this grant. And so we applied for another grant to cover some of the continuous electronic transition, which would be label makers. I didn't want two styles of label makers so that people didn't think we were recording in two sets of documents or two separate records and get confused. So I applied for this grant to continue with that, and also to upgrade the rest of the front of the office where you can actually do your research on all the real estate records, and also apply for marriage licenses within our office, and they did approve that. So I'm asking the board to approve the grant for the total of
Back to the top.
$9,931.
$9,931.28 for the things that were just to pay back our office for the things that we did upgrade. So that's what we're asking for now.
All right. I would say thank you, Mr. Grantham, for going after this to reimburse the county for some costs that your office did incur that were a little bit unexpected. So, gentlemen, your wishes?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the grant agreement with the electronic recording technology for the Board of Clerk and Recorder for the amount of $9,931.28.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve this grant agreement with the Electronic Recording Technology Board for the Clerk and Recorder in the amount of $9,931.28. Is there further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We have 1 minute until 10 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and move quickly to our next item of new business. We have before us a 1-year lease for Hangar 18 at the Fremont County Airport with Gordon Grosslight. And we're going to turn to our county manager, Sonny Bryant, for a brief explanation.
Yes, so we are making efforts to try to secure written agreements with all of the tenants out at the county airport, whether they be month-to-month leases or annual leases, and then in the case of land leases, we're securing long-term leases with those. So this is an individual that's been in one of the hangars for a while now, but we're wanting to have the formal agreement in place, just so all of the terms and everything are set in writing. And so that's what this is, a request for this agreement with Mr. Grosslight for hangar number 18.
And I believe nothing out of the ordinary. This closely mirrors the other leases we have.
Correct.
At the airport. Okay,
Yes.
Thank you. Gentlemen, questions, comments?
I have no questions, Madam Chair. I move to approve the 1-year lease for hangar number 18 at the Fremont County Airport with Gordon Grosslight.
Okay.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the 1-year lease for Hangar 18 at the Fremont County Airport with Gordon Grosslight. Is there further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. The hour now has reached 10 o'clock. We have a public hearing before us. This is a special review use, number 19-001 for Royal Gorge Karting. This is requesting approval for Royal Gorge Karting for a rural recreational facility. The use includes the installation of 2 go-kart tracks. One track's primary use will be short-term rental. The other track is designed for event racing consisting of various heats and classes. This property is located at the top of 8 Mile Hill off of US Highway 50. So I would like to call this meeting, or this public hearing, to order. I have ground rules to set for this morning. I think we have a lot of folks who would like to get up and speak. So a couple of reminders I would like to let you all know. First, everyone who is wishing to speak must fill out the information slip that's located on that table over there. Turn it in to Sunny. She'll pass it down to our clerk. We will call you up in the order that you signed up in as much as possible. Each person will be allowed up to 5 minutes to speak. You will receive a 1-minute warning when your time is almost up, and no speaker may donate their time to another speaker. Please remember, all comments need to be directed to this board. Do not direct questions or comments to the applicant or to their representative or to another individual or to the audience in general. Please do not read prepared statements that already have been submitted to us as a part of the record, because this does result in unnecessary duplication of comments. Also, please do not read to us letters that we have already received. I'm going to ask you to be kind to one another. Make your point in a civil manner. Avoid personal attacks against each other. And finally, be respectful of all who speak. Avoid grandstanding with outbursts of applause, cheering, booing, or other similar disrespectful displays. Okay, we're going to ask the applicant with a representative of Angela Bellantoni to come up and make her presentation. Good morning, Dr. Bellantoni.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I hope you're all well. Good morning.
Oh, yes. If you would pull that up.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
There we
Thank you.
go. Good morning.
Good morning.
I would like to introduce, first of all, the partners of Royal Gorge Karting Service. So if Carrie and Gordon Dauphiné would please stand, as well as Whit and Lane Sherrill.
Good morning to all of you.
These are the applicants, just so
All right.
we can, okay?
Thank you.
I am also going to be, because I am not an expert on go-karting. You know, the older you get, the more you know you don't know. Okay, so Mr.
I know that very well.
Do you know that? Jim Kiesling, and if you would please stand, Jim. Jim is the former president and developer of the track at Sentinel, Colorado. So he's well-versed in this. Thank you, Jim. And then we will also have an engineer, Mr. Josh Werr. Please stand. He's with Acuity Brands, and he is a lighting specialist. And lastly, we have Garrett Potter, and he's an industry professional in developing such tracks, and he has developed tracks in New Orleans, Miller, Utah, and Biloxi, Mississippi. So these individuals will add to my presentation. Embellish, improve it.
Thank you.
All right, so site development. As you can see on the site plan, tracks. Tracks are asphalt surfaces. They have, you see the red spots, the shaded area, the red shade. These are bermed, and the track itself is engineered according to code. It's in a fenced area for safety. The utilities on site are a septic tank. The perk test was completed, and an engineer design was submitted to the county on December 30th of 2019. Water, you have a letter from Division of Water Resources signed by Kathy Trask. The well has been changed to a commercial well, or it will be changed, in the event this is approved. Groundwater, because it isn't reliable, we know in that area it's challenging. So with that, because there's already going to be a cistern system required by the fire department, the owners, the applicants, are intending to install a cistern for use as well for patrons, just because they know that the well water is unreliable, so it's a backup system. Service buildings on site are restrooms for the patrons, customer service building, a cart building, and then a cart owner storage, because some people actually own their own carts and they bring them here on trailers to enjoy
Dr.
the facilities.
Bellantoni,
Yes,
could you
sir.
show us on this map where those things are located?
Right in front of you is a red
A pointer?
pointer.
I'm sorry. So we have restroom facilities, and we have service. Notice the asphalt comes up to the edge of the building. So you have a customer service, you have where the carts will be stored, and then in this building is where cart owners can rent a space
Thank you.
to store their on-site. Lights, 2 lighting systems. One is, you can see motion sensor lights on the sides of the building. Those are to be installed. The applicant is also requesting a lighting system, and the plan was submitted, and they recognized that this was something that the Planning Commission wasn't happy with, but since then they have done there's a lighting expert to come explain this and show how this works. The lighting would be for summertime only because of, first of all, safety issues as lights fall and fail. It's safety for the drivers. And it would allow patrons to use the track Fridays and Saturdays, extended hours. So business hours, 2 seasons, well, actually 3. 2 seasons is the tourism season, and we know that tourism is based on our snowfall and our weather. So it's anywhere from the last snow in May, and I've been here when it snowed on Blossom Festival, and I have been here when it snowed on October 7th. So May to October is what we're suggesting as a tourism season, knowing that that can wiggle depending on snow. And they would begin to open at 9 a.m. and they would close at dusk. Again, if the lighting system is approved, then that would allow them on Fridays and Saturdays, if the patrons were on the track, they would be able to illuminate the track. Pre-May and post-September, before the really cold weather hits, and this year the really cold weather hit in December, and then again in February. So outside of that really cold weather, there would be limited opportunity to use the track, potentially 3 days a week, maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then it would just be from 10 to 4, closed the rest of the week, and then closed for the winter months when the track isn't available. Substances on the site would be gasoline for the carts. It's in a portable, double-walled, 325-gallon tank on a trailer that is brought into town for refilling and then back out to the site for use. Concessions. Only prepackaged. There's no kitchen. They're not fixing anything for anybody. None of that's on site. If they did anything, it would be already in a package, done, sold, if they want to do that, because they understand there's a health department requirement if they want to do a kitchen and they don't want to go down that path. So that's the limit of my understanding of this today. So I am going to now turn this over to Mr. Jim Kiesling, and he is ready to use the PowerPoint. Ms. Bryant.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for the introduction. As Angela said, I'm Jim Kiesling, and I was the proposed developer, operated, promoted, and owned the track at Centennial that was in Centennial, Colorado. Most recently, I was hired as the head coach and performance instructor in risk management for Master Drive down in Denver to coach and train new drivers, as well as to assist corporates with any vehicles on the road in their risk management. And then at the other end, train the high-end customer buying the new sports sedan or car to fully train them on the systems and capabilities so that they were aware of the operation of their vehicle that they had just got. I'm honored that the partners of the proposal in front of you asked me to present for them and the overview and detail of the operation for your consideration. I will, as needed, describe terms that are used that are pretty much industry specific, but will have perceptions in layman's terms. So as I get through the presentation, I'll try to explain terms that are being used to describe so everybody has a good understanding of what I'm talking about. Welcome, everybody, and thank you. So the Royal Gorge karting circuit, so am I just up and down arrows? Great. As designed, it's called a professional circuit for a reason, because it's the same as having either Nicholas or Di do your golf course. You want to have so many engineered efforts into a design so that the safety is truly built into the track itself. The design or the shape of the track is as unique as it is to all the different golf courses that may be around the country. So they've modeled after a circuit in Belgium, and it's almost the exact same layout, just to give you seeing what it looks like with grass and asphalt and what it is. We've gone through the operational hours already of when they plan to operate. It truly is a three-legged stool is the best way to describe this business model. Renderings of the buildings where they'd have for either the public coming in or cart storage, the garages, and then we get into, an actual real picture. Now into the first leg of that three-legged stool of what their business is, you've got corporate team building and rentals. And that's just the tourists, everybody coming down the road, having fun with their day. The rental carts, they could be on the big track. Normally it's going to be on the small track. It depends if it's a corporate event and team building, because then it's an organized situation of a great B2B business model. And there was articles in Inc. magazine years ago when I was starting of karting tracks being the new golf course for corporate entertainment, because If I need to talk to Madam Chairman and we're at a golf event and she's in the foursome ahead of me, I've spent my entire day just following her around and never had a chance to discuss any issues that I'd love to discuss in a relationship that needed to be created. In the karting track and a corporate team building side, everybody's there. There's no intimidation of golfing. Everybody can drive, and they just are having a great time, and the community working together is awesome in that environment. Same leg of that stool, it's the exact same equipment, but now people are coming in, and it may be like a softball league every Wednesday afternoon or Saturday afternoon or whatever. 10 of us come, and we just want to go and have an actual organized event as opposed to just renting the cart and spending our time having fun in that section. Now we're to club events. This is the next leg of that stool of the three-legged program. A club event is designed by age and horsepower or engine package of appropriate for each of the groups. So you've got, and they're all owned privately. So you've got all broken down in the classes here, what the size of the engines are, and truly the only difference in the structure and engineering of the go-kart is the size. They're all very simple. There's no differential, there's brakes, there's a motor, there's no suspension. But it's very difficult to operate that thing in a high performance manner because you're dealing with so much that's not there as cars have, as shocks and everything else. So it's a very unique industry from the racing or the competing side. National events, it's the exact same equipment, it's the exact same classes, but now you might be having a titled to a championship under your belt of, hey, I won XYZ. At the track Centennial, purely because of being into an area of a lot of, stores, gas stations, whatever, parts suppliers, we were able to host a national championship, and I kept bidding every year, but we got it once because the organizations like to travel it around and keep it fair for all those national competitors. It's rare to see, but just to know that the equipment's the same as what's being used, whether it's considered a national championship or just a club level, fun, organized event. Here's our rental carts, guys out having fun, just spending their afternoon. The kids in that 7 to 9-year-old range out there having their event. Sometimes in our corporate events, you get some pretty famous people popping in the door, and it's unexpected, but it's amazing the draw of the people that want to walk in. We, at the time, were hired to be just the rental carts for the public at the Champ Car race downtown, and the phone rang and said, hey, I think owners and drivers are coming over and having fun before they go to their team dinners. So that was probably one of the highlights of my experience. Kids post-race on the podium, same here. Now we're into the carts of each of the legs of the program. The rental fleets, Burrell Art, nothing more than just a brand name manufacturer, same as Ford, Chevy, Toyota, what have you. The equipment and how it's designed is all the same. It's really just a change in size. So I've got on the right side, junior, that's J, it's for that 12 to 15-year-old. On the left side, senior, and that would be anybody over 15. It's just a little bit bigger cart. And then in the middle is a twin, which is a two-seater, which is pretty clever. We didn't have this option when I was doing this. You could teach people the racing line. You could show somebody that's handicapped, and get out and experience the cart. And you have a driver that's helping train everything that's going on in that equipment. That's actually pretty cool. You'll notice that there's safety protection on all the carts, even though the equipment's the same, because it truly is open-wheel racing. So this is, because it's untrained, I guess, drivers, the public coming in having fun, then all the protection's there so that really if something is off kilter, it's not going to be an issue. Next, I'm to just close-ups of that equipment. There's the double, and then that junior. The motors used in the entire corporate rental program, there's the Honda GX 160 and 270, 4 or 9 horsepower. The actual speed of the carts is going to be the same. I went and opted, because of the perception, to have 13 horse because everybody wants the more powerful, oh, I'm going to get a 13 horse. It doesn't matter. The speed and everything's controlled by the gear ratio, and it's all great. They're efficient, and you can barely hear them running, honestly, and it still lasts a long time, so you're not completely replacing everything. This picture is
Let me stop you for just a second.
Go ahead.
So you can barely hear them running. How
They'd
loud
be-
are they?
Oh, the sound engineer, Garrett, will talk with all the decibel limits and everything, and I've got that here coming up shortly in the presentation. This is a good description of the pit or the paddock area, which is an industry term again. In planning and zoning, it's called a parking lot, and everybody has a designed parking space, so you'll have numbers of parking spaces described as a parking lot. But the reality is that it's one big parking lot. It's called a paddock. It's where the teams will come in, or the father-sons with their go-kart. They'll unload it. They'll put up their tent. This is a pretty good event because they got larger tents, so 4 or 5 families are together. Unload the cart, it's on its stand, wheel it in with your toolbox, then get ready to go have fun for your day. I'll probably take up 4 spaces if I show up just myself to go, because I'll have my car, I'll have my pop-up tent, my cooler, my chair, and here we go. A good example, post-event of father-sons after a competition, how well they did. And I mean, they're living that dream of saying, hey, here's our team. Here's kind of a view under the tent. Obviously, when it gets to be a certain size, over maybe, 400 square feet, it's a fire marshal approved permit. So for ones that are going to have closed sides, will follow under all the fire regulations of permitting, exit signage, whatever else you need. They'll usually always just cover the ground with a tarp to, if I'll be honest with you, I can't see the little bolt when I drop it and I'm fixing something, so it just makes it easy. Because it truly is, that's the area that you're tuning your cart. And tuning as a definition in the industry is I'm adjusting my tire pressure, I'm changing the tire width a little bit, because it's all critical with a vehicle that has no built-in suspension. That's how it operates. So that's just a good depiction of truly what underneath in the paddock the tents look like. Again, toolboxes in the back, a table, the cart's on the stand, done off the track. I feel sorry for some teams with little kids because you need 2 people to get them. They're not going to lift up their front of the cart. They weigh about 140 pounds total. In the sectors close up of the actual competition carts or customer owns, here's the kid cart or the baby cart, 5 to 6, 5 to 7. Then you're next up to the 7 to 12-year-olds. Then we're into 12 to 15, and that would be considered a junior. The motor, they call it a senior and a junior motor. It's the exact same. Maybe there's one less little restrictor in it. But from there, 15 and up, everything's the same. And they'll divide classes into masters or senior because of living the good life. I outweigh the 16-year-old, and if the equipment's the same and I weigh more, every 10 pounds is a quarter second on the track slower. So we'll break it into so everybody has an equal chance of the different groups when they're actually in an organized competition. Here are your sound levels you talked about. That's actual data, threshold to decibels and everything that's going on. So you can see feet away and just what the decibel levels are for each of the different sectors. Then from there, this is a picture talking about noise.
Hold
but
on a
this
second.
is the-
Wait, go back to that slide, please. Okay.
Great, thank you. I wanted to give a visual of this. This was that Grand Nationals back in 2007 that we hosted at the track. We did a 2-hour tape delay live presentation on altitude sports and entertainment and won 2 national Telly Awards for outstanding broadcast. But the point I want to make in this entire picture right here is right there. There's a 12-foot open vending trailer that is our broadcast booth. And with everything on track and all the activities, there was no need for a studio or anything for the broadcasters to be doing the on-air announcement of the entire event that week. But what's going on here looks confusing, but it's just one group of 30 carts that were on the track, and it rained. You can see the moisture in the paddock area. And the guys on the left sitting in their go-karts, once it's considered wet and you want to stop the race because it's becoming an issue of grip, the racers have a choice in 30 minutes. Do you want to put your rain tires on, tune your go-kart, or do you want to wait and hope it doesn't rain and the track dries, and then you'll have an advantage of stickier tires than rain tires? So we're in the middle of that 30-minute delay. You can see the dads here helping their kids, trying to get their cart set up, because Gordon will tell you, it's a pain. you only have 30 minutes. You got to get your track width right, everything else, and all the issues that go into making sure it's going to run properly. So that's the purpose of that photo. Down to, you know, the impact of family and everybody there enjoying their activities at the track. I know there were some concerns, and I can address a concern that's been made already about the effects on wildlife and animals, and I'll give you just a little bit background that I didn't put in my presentation, but in 1900, my grandfather was born and graduated from vet school and then founded the American Animal Hospital Association, developed a prescription diet and science diet for companion animals, and then needed an organization to do science and research to help 4 divisions of equine, canine, feline, and wildlife, or zoological animals. So he founded the Morris Animal Foundation, which was the largest nonprofit, non-governmental, for the benefit of wildlife and animals. And then my mother, 40 years ago, actually stayed with Diane Fossey in Rwanda and was experiencing the silverback mountain gorillas, and post her unfortunate death, took over the entire operation. So that was all headquartered here at the foundation down in Englewood for the past 35 years. So I have a really good understanding of husbandry and companion animals and the effects of the environment on it. And so we just wanted to have some pictures there to show that it was really just not an issue that we were too concerned with. Into sound issues, I might turn this over to Garrett if there's concerns about it, but they've listed parts of the track, what the decibels are at the different distances away from corners of the track in projection to the property line. And then we're into the ingress and egress and the permit from CDOT already approving access for what the use is on the property. Then I've got photographs of the center turn lanes where the actual property is. I know on their plan they've got their own 50-foot driveway coming in to the east of the existing easement for all the neighbors. That's their access to their land. This is doing nothing more than just showing the same entrance, ingress, egress from the state highway onto the property with the radius of the turns and the access that's there in the already approved uses. The water on site, permit there. Fire protection, all the requirements are there because the fire marshal and all those codes are in place that have to be met. So they're all in that whole arena to the spec. This is just an aerial picture of the track that Garrett helped do in Biloxi, Mississippi, just to show you the proximity of apartments or hotels on the left, the track, and the fact that there's community close by with 0 issues on complaints of noise. And this also helps a little bit just seeing some of the light towers, how they're placed, all downcast, but again, Josh will cover all of that from the illumination level. And then finally, to start wrapping things up, the letters of businesses in the same sector, I guess, of tourism or entertainment industry or whatever along the 8 Mile range, all kind of in acceptance and think this would be a great use of where it is to blend into what the whole area is doing for everybody coming. Here, I'll get into Josh and have him start. This is getting into some of the lighting plans and some of those details. We don't have pictures of it because with the advanced technology in LED lighting and how you can direct its beam and adjust your color temperatures and the Kelvin range, what have you, you know, that's, I don't think anybody's gotten up to speed on high-tech stuff, so.
Hello, my name is Josh Weir. I've been in the lighting industry for 18 years. I work for Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame is a part of the Acuity brands that was mentioned earlier. We've done several scenarios. I was going to hook my computer up, but I don't think I need to. As you can see, or kind of see, these icons are the lights. Okay, so they'll be on 30-foot poles. All the prisons around here, we did all that lighting, okay? So you see how bright that light is when you drive by a prison? Those are about 80 to 100 foot candles. And foot candle is a term used to see how bright the surface is. So this surface right here is probably about 25 to 30 foot candles, okay, give or take, all right? So you can imagine in a prison scenario, they need a lot of light. This average scenario, you're looking at anywhere from 10 to 20 foot candles. Okay, and the IES, which is Illuminating Engineers Society, they recommend on an outdoor racetrack to be 10 to 20 foot candles. If it's very competitive, like a NASCAR or something like that, then it's a lot higher. But as far as recreational go-kart tracks and horse racing, if you will, it's under about 35 to 40 foot candles. So we're right at 10 to 20. And I think there's some concern about light distribution wider than the area. Is that a concern, right? So our fixtures actually are horizontal with the ground, and they have something called, it's called an uplight skirt. Okay, so it's basically a shield, and it will shield. Okay, so it's not pictured here, but we have a skirt that actually comes down, and it eliminates that pollution of light. Okay, we have these all over the country. Okay, so they are designed to eliminate that light distribution or that light pollution, if you will, into neighboring, whatever it is, neighboring communities or neighboring RV parks or commercial sites. Okay, so our design is specific for, it's called zero uplight. Okay, and that's a huge exterior lighting term throughout the state of Colorado and the United States in general. So this fixture is designed for that with that uplight skirt. The amount of uplight that you will get or pollution that you will get from this fixture alone is less than 1%. With the skirt on it, it is 0%. Okay, so throughout, go back to the, so this drawing, it has, okay, these blue are 8, so they would have 8 fixtures around a 30-foot pole. And the orange, you can't really see, you can kind of see. They have 6. Okay, so we'd have 6. Have you guys gone up and down I-25? Okay, down the center of I-25, there are 50-foot poles with 10 and 12 fixtures in a circle. Okay, so that's the concept. Why do we do that? Because it focuses all the light down. Okay, it doesn't spread it into a wide area, and it's more focused for specific conditions like go-kart racing. Okay, these fixtures, weigh 52 pounds. We have EPA testing, which is wind load testing, up to 110 miles per hour with 0 failure. And I have all that data as well if you need it. Other than that, do you have any other questions?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Questions? There we are.
Gentlemen, do you have anything that you need to ask now that can't wait?
No, not right now.
Yeah, I have one question. So you got gas and oil. You got people working on cars. What happens to the spill, oil, leaks?
All that dictated through the fire marshal from our perception at my track. So you had your cleanup, the cat litter, or whatever it was, in case there was a spill. But it's truly in a day-to-day practice. They're buying a 5-gallon drug, or it's in the dispensed DOT-approved fuel container trailer of just Shell, whatever brand gasoline. That's what they're going to run on. So there's those systems in place. They're all electric 12-volt pumps, so you don't have an electrical emergency shut-off. But the fire marshal really dictates for them on their whole safety spill control. Yeah, Dave. Garrett.
Good morning.
Morning.
Garrett Potter. I'm a motorsports facility design and operations consultant brought in by the people of Royal Gorge. Touch on a couple of things, lighting, but let's deal with the oil situation. There won't be any service. As far as the professional or club carters, you won't see them service or do any kind of oil changes or anything like that on site. All that, first and foremost, those engines are 2 cycles, so they don't have crankcases like a 4-stroke does. Those services are done at home, and as he alluded to before, it's more of a tuning or an adjustment, tire pressures, gear changes, those type of things. But there will be oil changes for the recreational carts. But those are done inside the building. You'll obviously have a concrete floor. You'll have a shop in place. None of that will be done outside.
And those are four-cylinder?
Four-cylinder, exactly. And then you'll have the standard oil practice, oil changes, oil storage, where they'll come out and bring a company out that disposes those fluids and oils just like any other shop that operates. So, but as far as anything happening on the property outside the building, service-wise, you're not going to see that.
Thank you.
You bet.
And so just to get, at least I think everybody comfortable with our overview and the promotion of everything, I'd just like to close before we get to the public comment side, just talk about the benefits of karting. You know, you've got fathers, sons, daughters, families all working together all day, and the kids in my mind are learning an amazing trade and real life experience of situational awareness, vision acuity. They can handle a motor vehicle, and by the time they're 16, they are so well versed that it's not just having to go through the 6 hours of approved instruction to get their license with nearly no substance or experience behind them. And I think in the thousands of parents and kids racing at the track that we had over our whole time, not one of them ever got in trouble, speeding, accidents, whatever. They were aware of their environment, and they all did very well in school because it was a great tool for the parents to say, if grades are slipping, we're not driving this weekend. And it was amazing to see that whole community come together, and lifelong friends from over the 10, 12 years that I've been doing that. So we'll get back to Angela.
All right, thank you.
I just have one clarification because I was confused. If I hit escape, because this is just like mine, yes? Thank you. There was discussion at the Planning Commission about the parking and the pit spots. So I kind of would like to take a moment, and I know this has the, there you go. So the concern was this has, I got to ask, I think it's 140 pit spots.
190 is what the
190,
paperwork
okay.
reflects.
So this, and that sounds like a lot, right?
It is a lot.
It is
Okay,
a lot.
so I didn't understand this until yesterday. Maybe I'm slow. So keep that in mind, and those are called pit spots. And as Jim was talking, he mentioned that he would take up, if he went just to watch an event, he would take up 4. So one of these could take up 10. So if Carrie and Gordon went out with their tent and their carts on a weekend just to have fun with friends, they could set this up for 10, and in between here might be 2 or 4. And then here's another one taking up 10. So it's not 190 people. It is spaces, and they can decide how many pit spots they want to rent and set their tent up for. That's just 2 people for the weekend on 10 of those spots. The other thing, regarding spills that Commissioner McFall brought up. That's a tarp. That's a
But that's a tent.
plastic, but inside the tarp.
This is a tent. He said it would be done in a building, so it's a different situation.
Well, but there's 2. This is for, yes, that's the rentals are inside the building, correct. I'm just showing you that even if anybody brings their own carts, they are on an impermeable surface to catch anything, and they can have spill sorbent material inside the tent right there. It's not in contact with the ground. There's a tarp in between that they walk on inside.
It's not canvas then?
No.
So
It's a plastic.
Individuals set these tents up
Yes,
on
sir.
these spots.
Yes, sir.
I saw RV in there. There's not supposed to be any camping on this.
And what they do is they don't. That's how they bring their carts in. You can see the doors in the back. Because, yes, they don't stay there. So, see that? That's the door in the back. Those are trailers with doors in the back. There's doors in the back to bring You've seen those.
Toy haulers.
What did you call that?
Toy hauler.
Yeah, one of those.
I have a question then. Jim alluded to club events and national events. Club events meaning a group of people that owns their own equipment and they come in. Normally when you have a club event or a national event, how many people is that? Competitors?
Our average club race, we'd have 4 kid carts, 10 micros maybe. We'd have maybe 40, 50 competitors for a club event. It's just every other weekend or whatever our schedule would be. And it depends on what their activities or their family were that day. The RV I can answer pretty quick because dads are concerned about their kids and it's hot in summertime and you're already losing maybe 8 pounds of moisture in a race. Go in and get in the air conditioning and cool off and then come on out when you're ready to go again. But as far as camping, no, that's just their vehicle to get in and out of the premises to do what they do. The national events, again, the location and how prestigious do the competitors around the country think they want to do. You know, Gordon and Carrie being in that business to maybe travel to events, yeah, maybe it's nice on your resume to have the fact that I won a Midwinters or I won a Nationals or I won the Challenge of Americas or one of the races we did, the Pan American Games. I mean, we had maybe 140 competitors on site, but we did a live broadcast and it was viewed in 20 countries and 55,000 people online at the same time with comments coming in of, that's my grandson, or this is that, or look at how he's doing. But that's a rare occurrence in my mind to have at this facility. It's just in a nice, scenic, great area, not truly what would be that type of venue.
Okay. Anything else from the applicant at this time? All right, thank you. We turn next to a staff report from Planning and Zoning Director Sean Garrett. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning. So the department has reviewed the application and find it to be a complete and true representation of the request that's stated herein. The department finds that all minimum requirements for the Fremont County zoning resolution will be satisfied by the application. There is 2 waiver requests. One is for the hard surfacing for the parking area. The other is landscaping of the parking area. And we have 4 recommended conditions. The first being adherence to any requirements set forth by CDOT regarding the access. Maintenance and tuning of the cart shall only occur during normal business hours in those areas. No overnight stays or campings will be allowed. And this was the Planning Commission made a recommendation that nighttime operations shall not occur without further review and that be considered a major modification.
Yeah, so I guess I'm a little bit confused now because they have a lighting plan that they've submitted, but that wasn't there when they were at the Planning Commission.
The lighting plan that we have now was not part of the application at the Planning Commission.
When you read their minutes, they're talking about that would be, like you say, a major modification and have to come in later.
As far as details, the lights were shown on the site plan, but as far as more details, what's in your packets was provided after the Planning Commission.
Thanks.
After.
Correct.
Anything else for Sean at this time? All right. I think we are ready for public comment. And right out of the gate, we've got a name. So let me apologize up front for mispronunciation of any names.
That's
We're
why we let you
starting
do that.
with Sebastian Nikowitz. Is that close? Does anyone recognize that name? All right, come on up. No. Someone has to go first. You were the first one to sign up. This is your opportunity, or you can pass altogether. And please tell me how that last name is supposed to be pronounced.
Yeah, you're pretty close.
Good.
Nimkowitz.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Sebastian Nimkowitz. I'm, what I can say, my accent probably it's confusing.
We can understand you. Can you give us your address, please?
I live in Summit County, Colorado.
Okay, thank you.
So what I would like to say, because I know a lot of people have concerns and like always something new is popping out. Lots of people are kind of, oh, we don't want it. We don't know what it is. We're really scared. So my son is, he's in a carter. we get in the karting about 10 years ago when he was about 6.5 years old. When we put him in his sister Barbie cart, when he started doing the wheelies around the parking lot. And we stand over there and we freezed with our friends, and we was like, how long he's doing this? And we was like, no, he just sit in it right now. And we was surprised. So we decided to go and follow that. So we are in it for 10 years already. He is really great kid. He is right now, he will turn 17 right now. And I think the advantage of the karting was keeping him straight out of the drugs and alcohol in school, and especially in the high school. It's really hard to control those days in the high schools. So I think karting is eliminating this problem very quickly, because those kids cannot do those things because they were not going to perform. And what else I can say? That will be nice to see this truck, another truck, professional truck in Colorado. There's a couple others in Colorado, but they are not in very good shape because the ownership and mismanagement. Looks like this one carry on by people who are in this profession for already many, many years. I would say probably more than 30 years. Will be managed very nicely, and that will be pretty nice ad for Colorado. And we're going to pull lots of kids' attention in the area here. I'm pretty sure we're going to increase also somehow the tourism in the area, because lots of people are going to start considering, hey, there is the bridge, there is nice scenes around, we can go, we can have some fun also, do some rafting, we can do some jeep tours, we can spend some time on the truck. Probably people were going to, stick more around. What else I can say? Like always with any kind of project, there will be people who will be like really afraid, and they were gonna start some personal crusade against something what is positively affecting many other people, but they putting their own personal interest on the top of the interest of the whole community. And I think that's we're going to close my statement here.
All right, thank you. We understood every word, so thank you. Up next, Beverly Kane. Good morning.
Hello, my name is Beverly Kane. I'm a Cannon City resident. I oppose the go-kart track project off of 50, Highway 50. My reasons are the following. The proposed go-kart track business is not in the best possible location. This proposed business backs up to several homes and a pet large animal boarding business. The major factor is noise. From the go-karts, the pit stop tuning area, trucks hauling go-karts in and out for races, and loud music. All these factors are not conducive to the homeowners and animals that are adjacent to this proposed business. The noise alone will stress out homeowners and animals. The businesses will be negatively impacted and property values greatly decrease. Noise will also turn campers away from the RV park next to the proposed business. Additional problem issues will be traffic, dust, and fire hazards. This proposed business would be better placed by the Fremont County Airport. Please consider these factors and the impact it will have. Thank you.
Thank you, Beverly. Helene Blake.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to speak before you today. My concern about the go-kart, and I am opposed to it because of the traffic considerations, what I'd like to do is give you my personal observation that occurred about a week after this proposal was put before the Planning Commission. What happened, I live about 12 miles out of town, and so I come into town probably 5 days a week, and so I pass that entrance at least 5 times a week, coming and going. And as I came back from Canyon City, heading towards Salida, I noticed there was a wreck pulled over on the side of the road just shortly before the entrance into this property. And at that point, if you're familiar with the area, as I'm sure you all are, you're going up 8 Mile Hill. That shoulder on the side, on both sides actually, is quite narrow because there's a rock ledge on one side and a steep drop-off on the other. That damaged vehicle, and there was already an emergency vehicle there, but that vehicle had been pulled over to the shoulder and it barely fit off the road. And what I also observed was that that is a shaded area because there is a rock wall there. And so anyone coming from the other direction, from Salida, would be coming from a very brightly lit roadway coming down into a shadow where there's a vehicle just barely off the side of the road. My big concern, and I notice that CDOT has approved this, and that's fine, but the reality is there are other issues when we're driving. If you're coming from Salida, again, you're coming from a bright area, you're coming up that hill, and I've because of my concern about that, I've calculated every time I go back and forth, I realize that I probably have, if there's an accident that's just slightly past that entrance, I have 10 to 15 seconds to see it, to recognize what it is, and to take evasive action. And the reality is that yes, there's a turn lane, but we all know that when you come to that area, that's where the road is narrowing from 2 lanes down to 1. Invariably, there's someone who wants to pass the one in front of them so that they're not stuck behind them as they go on down the single lane. So those 2 lanes are often occupied, and those people are, again, focusing on trying to get ahead rather than what's going on around them. So my big concern, again, is not, I have no concern about the business, only the location, and I think in particular traffic coming from the Salida area is going to be at a disadvantage. In the entire 12 years that I have lived there, coming back and forth at least 5 times a week, I've seen 1 vehicle come out of the entrance of that property. If you have multiple vehicles coming and going, that obviously increases the potential for traffic issues in an area where it is very difficult for you to have time to observe as you come up over that hill what's happening and time to take corrective action. Again, thank you for your allowing me to speak today.
All right, thank you. Up next, Diane Alves. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you.
As you said, my name is Diane Alves, and I've been a resident of 8 Mile Hill.
Can you speak a little more into the microphone, please? Thank you.
Okay. My name is Diane Alves. I got it? I have been a resident of 8 Mile Hill for 35 years. Commissioners, my hope in addressing you today is that each one of you will make an informed decision based on what you hear today in opposition to this go-kart racetrack. I attended the Planning and Zoning Commissioners meeting on January 7th. Although some questions were asked by the board, many important concerns as presented by those in opposition to this racetrack were not addressed prior to a unanimous vote to approve this go-kart racetrack. I readily admit I do not know and understand all that is involved in making these important decisions. Not to appear disrespectful, but I would hope that you have reviewed the minutes from the Planning Commissioners meeting of January 7th, in addition to the special review permit application, and that you have personally visited this 35-acre parcel, which is zoned agriculture, not commercial. If so, I believe you will understand that if this racetrack is approved by you, it will negatively impact many aspects of the 8 Mile area. In closing, I do commend you and do want to thank you for your willingness to serve as county commissioners for Fremont County. I know it's not an easy job. Thank you.
Indeed, it's
Thanks,
not.
Diane.
Thank you so much. All right, next speaker, Jeffrey Buckner.
Morning.
Good morning.
My name is Jeffrey Buckner. My wife and I own and operate 8 Mile Ranch, the boarding kennel, the animal care facility. Our facility is adjacent to the proposed racetrack. In fact, it's within about 200 feet of the professional racetrack. I did submit a video showing what the actual tracks and the actual races will, do show and do sound like. The aspect that I want to point out, and they've shown it very well here, is that the race rigs that are shown up there, the race teams arrive in large RVs with large trailers. Some of them are in Class 3 and Class 4 semis, otherwise known as a business class semi. With 190 parking spots, they have the potential of 192 parking spots. They have a potential of 192 of these semi-sized rigs. Can you imagine the traffic jam coming up and down 8 Mile with 192 rigs trying to turn into a 30-foot access? Because it was 20 foot, now they've only given them 10 feet, so now you have that. How far will the traffic jam go? Will it go all the way to Skyline Drive? How will the emergency responders get through? Then think about the noise that will be generated, not only actually from their racing, but from the tuning, the equipment, the announcing, and the sheer volume of people at an average of 2.5 people per vehicle. That's about 400 people. And you get 400 people talking and yelling and cheering and stuff like that, that's going to add to it. And 8 Mile Hill is actually a valley surrounded by mountains and hills, which would amplify and funnel the sound from the track down towards the restaurants, the campgrounds, the glamping, the condos, all the residents in the Dinosaur Depot. Think of a great big amphitheater. Most of the pictures they showed here, all the tracks are on flat plains. There's no mountains to amplify that sound because they're in a bowl, and it's just going to force that all the way down 8 Mile Hill. I mean, if you're a hunter, you've heard stories about hearing conversations hundreds of yards away because of the terrain. If you're on one side of a mountain and there's another mountain over here, a lot of times you can hear people talking just because of the way that sound focuses. The area is actually growing into more of a nature, hiking, biking, horseback riding. There's new trails up around that area that's going to affect all that. There's BLM land right behind the racetrack and us that's open for horseback riding. You put a go-kart next to a horse that doesn't understand what it is, you're going to have injuries, you're going to have accidents. And in that video also there are pictures of the Grand Junction racetrack, which they have compared themselves to. And it's actually, that track is actually built in the protected landing zone of the airport. Hence, there's nothing going to be built around it. The only thing you can do in a protected landing zone mainly is farming and maybe some mining. There's not going to be any residences, no restaurants, no anything like that. It's bordered by Interstate 70. It has a frontage road access to it. So they have a lot of access to it, a lot of able to handle the traffic associated with these circuit races and stuff. And another point, if you notice in the pictures of the Grand Junction Raceway, there's a mile-long sound barrier between the racetrack and the interstate itself. Why would you need a sound barrier between the racetrack and an interstate if the sound is negligible?
Warning.
Say again?
1 minute warning.
Oh, okay. And again, I'm not anti-racetrack, but I believe that the proposed location is not appropriate. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
I have a question. Thanks. You share the driveway? You would share the driveway there?
Yes, I would.
The entrance, you would share that? And so you're behind it, is that right? To the south?
Right directly where they conveniently showed the dog kennel on the south side. That property line along this south right here is where my property is. My road comes in through here, and my house is right here. The kennel is right here, within 200 feet of this section right here. And we have fences. We have sound barriers that you guys actually required us to have. We had one person complain about one that had a concern about one dog barking, so we were required to put up sound barriers. And in fact, have a 6-foot fence all the way around. Plus, the kennels are all enclosed, and none of the sound goes to the south.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Corinne Buckner. We don't bite, I promise. Thank you.
Do you mind if I stay?
No, you're all right.
Hello, my name is Careen Buckner, and my husband and I own 8 Mile Ranch, a boarding facility which is adjacent to the proposed racetrack. We have owned the property for 15 years. We operate a business with an impeccable reputation and provide a valuable service to our local community. The 8 Mile Hill area is a home to multiple campgrounds with another 300-unit project being proposed, as well as luxury cabins, glamping, the Dinosaur Depot, and the Royal Gorge Bridge and Park itself. This area currently employs countless members of our local residents and is a major source of tax revenue for our county. I firmly believe that the proposed track, if approved, will have a negative impact on the existing businesses in this area, and could, because of the location of the track, in fact, impact our business enough to cause its closure. Closed businesses and properties foreclosed upon as a result of these closures will very likely drive down property values in the area and, in turn, negatively impact the tax revenue for our county. I respectfully ask that in the event that this project is approved, that it is done so with the following conditions and that they are permanent and mandatory. First, no nighttime racing of any kind. The destruction of the area's ambient light could be devastating to all the businesses in that area. The natural beauty of the area as it is a huge draw for tourism in our area. Second, that a solid sound wall of at least 15 feet in height, due to the topography of the property, be constructed around any and all proposed tracks of any kind to provide both a visual and a sound barrier between the tracks and all adjacent properties. And last, a permanent easement change be required of the new owners to match the access granted to them by CDOT of a mandatory 30 feet, which will extend to the southernmost border of the property the proposed track will occupy. The current easement is only 20 feet and is shared with Black Hills Energy. This unfortunately makes that access a one-way ingress and egress. Without this change, the construction of a fence or a wall of any kind would create a very real danger that in the event of an emergency, such as a fire, residences and animals could be fatally trapped behind that track. The partners of Royal Gorge Karting do not reside in Fremont County. They have other jobs and businesses, other sources of income. For the majority of us in the 8 Mile Hill area, that is not the case. We reside in Fremont County. We have a legal and a moral right to determine what happens here. These homes are our sanctuaries, and in some cases, the businesses owned by us are our only businesses, our only source of income, and our only retirement. I would ask that this be taken into consideration before a decision is made here today. In closing, I would like to state for the record that we are not anti-track. We are, in fact, avid racing enthusiasts. We are, however, anti-track in this location. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dorothy Twellman. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Dorothy Twellman, and I live on the top of 8 Mile Hill as well. I have many concerns about this proposal, but I will only speak to a few of those in the interest of time, and some of that's been covered. One of my main concerns is the traffic congestion and traffic accidents. There is already a lot of traffic up in that area, especially during the tourist season. And when you add big rigs and RVs pulling trailers, hauling go-karts, certainly it's going to add to both the traffic and the traffic accidents. This particular location, you have to turn off Highway 50 onto a narrow, as stated, 30-foot entryway or lane. And if you are heading west, there's from Canyon City, there is a blind spot partway up the hill, and you may come upon some of this traffic backup and not have time to really react to that. And the people with these big rigs turning left across eastbound traffic are also going to have some issues, and it will certainly back up traffic in that area. I spoke to Sheriff Cooper about this, and he also has a major concern about the traffic in the area. And incidentally, he mentioned that another of his big concerns is dust mitigation, which hasn't been mentioned here. And any of you who live near county roads that are covered with gravel know that the gravel does not really control the dust very well at all. My second concern is the fire issue, and we've had already 2 awful fires up in this area. We don't need a third. The carts do not have spark arresters, and therefore the potential for a devastating fire is a very real concern. And as mentioned, if a fire occurs, there's only one way out for the people who live behind and adjacent to this property and for all those animals. So that could be a terrible situation. With regard to fire, Scott Johnson, who's our deputy fire chief, told me that they have only received very basic information about this proposal and certainly could not guarantee that it meets all the fire code safety regulations. Finally, I'd like to comment on a letter that is addressed to the board, but I don't think you've had it, from Dr. Jeremy Lay, who's a local veterinarian. And he spoke to the noise issue and stated that there are many documented cases of animals, particularly dogs, that are affected by extreme noises. And Jeff wasn't able to present the video, but if you listen to that video, it is very noisy. Dr. Lay said that these dogs can develop stress-related conditions like anxiety, behavioral issues, and gastrointestinal issues, and that when dogs are in a protected kennel or grooming facility, pet care facility, they're already under some stress because they're not in their normal environment. And when you add the excessive noise, that's certainly going to add to the stress that they feel. I also am certainly not opposed to new businesses. I think this could be a great activity, a real boon to Fremont County, but I think this location is terrible. And that concludes my presentation. I thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, George.
Thank you so much. Deborah Dockendorf. Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Deborah Dockendorf, and I agree with points already stated today in this meeting. However, I have some additional concerns I would like to speak about. Currently, there is a 20-year-old easement that is 20 foot on the west side of the cart track property that gives current residents, clients of the boarding facility, utilities, and emergency personnel access to their properties. This easement, as stated, is 20 feet wide and is shared with Black Hills Energy, and due to the utility poles location makes this a one-way ingress and egress road. Residents who share the access road with the cart track have received letters from the property owner's attorney stating their intention to build a fence along this access road, which would potentially block residents from entering their respective properties on or after September of 2020. The cart track request CDOT approved an additional requested, the cart track requested CDOT approval of an additional 50-foot access to the property for a separate entrance into the proposed cart track. However, CDOT only approved a 10 feet to expand the current 20-foot easement access to 30 feet. This 30-foot easement road would have to accommodate the proposed track business, current residents, patrons of the boarding facility, and utilities and emergency personnel. In CDOT's access permit, it states the annual average daily traffic volumes using this go-kart business shall not exceed 132 trips. That includes our access and business going in and out. Does one trip include going and coming? How is this going to be monitored and enforced, and by whom? In the previous planning and zoning meeting, the go-kart track owners stated that they were going to request a state change their well permit from residential to commercial. They also stated that they would be installing a cistern at the request of fire officials to provide fire suppression. Water wells in 8 Mile Hill are unreliable at best, and worse, don't produce at all. What size cistern will accommodate this business and fire suppression to keep us all safe? I purchased my 40-acre property, which is zoned agriculture residential, 10 years ago, knowing that the adjacent properties had the same or similar agriculture forest zoning. I retired here for the quiet rural living I yearned for and to raise my livestock, not to have a racetrack less than 50 yards from my residence operating from proposed 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. I don't know about y'all. I go to bed at 8:30. The racetrack is, if approved, will drastically affect my quality of life as well as the 9 other residents in the immediate area. If the board is considering approval of the track, I propose the following conditions be met prior to the approval. Due to the potential sizable increase of traffic utilizing the 30-foot easement and access road, I request the road be increased to 30 feet for its entire length. This would allow for two-way traffic and safer environment for all. There's also a 30-foot easement on the Buckner's property, which is available for fire and emergency personnel to be able to get to. A professional level traffic impact study be completed.
1 minute warning.
An environmental impact study be completed to include hazardous waste, noise, and lighting pollution, provide its own fire protection suppressant equipment, fire engine equivalent, provide its own emergency response personnel to include fire and medical during racing events covering all classes, to promote safety and provide traffic control on Highway 50 and the access road prior to and after a racing event. Thank you for your time and consideration on this matter.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Rhonda Winford. Hi, thank you.
Good morning. My name is Rhonda Winford. I would like to ask the board to carefully consider the quality of life of the residents and the economic impact of the businesses adjacent to the proposed cart track. Residents of Fremont County enjoy the rural agricultural character the area offers. The spectacular scenery, the clean air, and the sense of community are important factors to residents. Excuse me. Residents understand that unregulated growth in the county, water limitations, increased traffic on roads, and other factors are affecting living conditions. Steps need to be taken now to ensure that the current desirable quality of life will continue into the future. As stated in the Fremont County Master Plan, quality of life, the county also recognizes the importance of environmental factors, natural and cultural amenities, or quality of life issues that play a key role in the health of the economy. Excuse me, I'm very nervous.
We won't bite you either. It's okay.
And it just taking that directly out of the master plan, basically that everybody in the county realizes that to have a strong economy, the natural and man-made amenities of the county must be maintained and enhanced. The county must take into consideration all impacts when evaluating any development proposal and the effects on the current and future residents and on the cultural and man-made amenities of the county. All developments should limit environmental and aesthetic impacts such as pollution, lighting, signage, glare, noise, and odors on neighborhoods. Rural density development should impact the county and its citizens as minimally as possible and uphold the character of the neighborhood. Rural development should include fire plans that consider the potential fire hazards of the proposed use, mitigation measures such as on-site water storage and/or fire suppressant materials. Consider future impacts to county transportation, and I recommend that a professional level traffic study be conducted for all proposed developments prior to application approval. Potential urban density commercial and industrial development should be located in or near areas where similar land uses currently exist. The detrimental impact on the tourism industry in 8 Mile area could be significant. The noise and lighting pollution could negatively impact the RV, glamping, and luxury cabin rental businesses near the cart track. Patrons of these businesses are looking to enjoy a specific experience that the 8 Mile Hill and Royal Gorge area offers. The established boarding and kennel facility located south of the proposed cart track could potentially lose customers and worst case scenario be put out of business due to the noise of the cart races negatively impacting the animals under its care. The adjacent property values of the proposed racetrack could be substantially reduced due to the lack of desirability residing next to a racing venue. In closing, and to borrow the wording found in the zoning resolution document, I submit that the proposed cart racetrack is more obnoxious and detrimental to the welfare of the surrounding community than the permitted uses specifically mentioned in the current zoning district. As other members of the community have stated, I am not opposed to a race cart enterprise in Fremont County. The current proposed location of the cart track is inappropriate due to its closeness of residences, campground, and boarding facility. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rhonda. Cadence Presley. Good morning. Did I pronounce your name right? Thank you.
Thank you for having me. My name is Cadence Presley, but my competitors know me as Relentless because I never give up on a goal. I recently turned 10 years old, and I'm beginning my 3rd year of racing go-karts. I've known for as long as I can remember that this is what I want to do with my life. I love everything automotive, from building to driving them. Other sports are interesting to me, but there's nothing that I love and have a passion for like racing. I can't imagine myself being a pro football player, or a pitcher, or a basketball player, or a wrestler. Well, maybe a wrestler, but not for the rest of my life. Racing is my life, and I'm not alone in that. There are many kids around the world who aspire to make a lifelong career out of this sport that they love, and there's almost nowhere for them to go work toward that goal. The state of Colorado spends $150 million a year on student activities, mostly sports, and none of it includes racing. There are at least 700 football fields in the state of Colorado, and about the same number of soccer fields. A new track like this one will bring the number of places to race a go-kart in Colorado up to 6. The Royal Gorge karting circuit will give local hopefuls a chance to compete on a really well-designed European-style racetrack. I can't wait to get out there and find the limits myself. I want to give a huge thank you to Gordon and Carrie Dauphiné for building this track and giving the Colorado racing community a place to pursue their passion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very well spoken, young man. Thank you.
Good job.
Mike Bandera. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Mike Bandera, and I'm here representing the Canyon City Chamber of Commerce. the Tourism Committee and the Executive Committee of the Chamber of Commerce, have reviewed this, business plan and so on, and, are very much in support of this go-kart operation, the karting track, and it would be a great addition to the tourism selection of the Royal Gorge region. And, of course, the Chamber is very interested in increasing tourism and also increasing the economic impact and economic development of the Royal Gorge region. We need to grow the Royal Gorge region as a destination. We need more attractions and we need more lodging to go along with those attractions, but that's a separate issue there. But 85 million visitors come to the state each year. And Colorado Springs, our closest competitor, let's call them, they do about 23 million. They draw about 23 million of that 85 million. Denver does about, they draw about 40 million of the 85 million. The Royal Gorge region does 2 to 2.5 million per year. So there's a lot of room to grow. And to grow, we need more attractions and as I said, more hotels. And this project, the karting project, $2 million construction project, several thousand kart riders, 10 to 12 new employees would add greatly to the economic development of the region, we think. And 8 Mile Hill is the tourism center of the Royal Gorge region, and so we think the site is right on from a tourism standpoint. And we, all the attractions up there share with each other. As y'all probably know, I've been general manager at the Royal Gorge Bridge for the 18 of the last 20 years, and we shared with everybody up there, especially rafting. And we would share with the go-kart operation, the karting operation. It's not just a racetrack; it's a real attraction. And when I was with the Six Flags organization for about 20 years, and go-karts, karting was in their family attractions, their family entertainment centers. Karting was an anchor. It drew people, more people than than the miniature golf aspects of the family entertainment centers. And we reviewed the business plan and have done, we've already heard about the noise situation. That's been well addressed, and the lighting situation. I won't go into that, but appeal-wise, we need an attraction for our guests to enjoy after dark. Right now, things are very limited for our guests in this region, after dark, except for a restaurant and bar here and there, But with the corporate events, the league events, club events, and the national events, it makes this concept far more than a go-kart track. It is an attraction with real economic impact to the region, we think. Thank you. Any questions?
Thanks, Mike.
I don't think so. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Darren Holmes. Good morning. I think it's still morning. Yep.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you.
Good morning.
Just to drill down, everybody's kind of spoke their piece here, but I recommend we have environmental impact studies, safety impact studies, animal welfare studies, all the independent driven documentation that's going to provide evidence of, what's being proposed. This is obviously a very professional, well-done proposal. My other concern is that, those of us that live out there, I'm in the 12-mile canyon area, so one of the main thoroughfares for Summit County as well for a lot of the tourism. So the additional traffic and safety issues is definitely on my mind. Not to mention the highway closures that happen up there from fatalities or whatever major incidents that happen. Again, an impact study, a safety impact study, not from CDOT or from somebody else, independently would provide more evidence of how much traffic's going through there. We as a community, in the rafting community, the camping community, all of the activities that go through there. There is an enormous amount of motorcycle activity, enormous amount of traffic. That's definitely an area of concern. Obviously that lane change at the top of the blind hill impacts any sort of significant large trailers or turn-ins going into that very limited egress area as well. I would hope that you would entertain the idea of having those impact studies from independent, non-biased parties. Also, with the growth on the 8 Mile Hill, the growth in the community, I'd hope you'd be foresighted to put a 5-year and 10-year plan in place, so can kind of plan and prepare for the growth that's coming up there. The other issue is that those of us that bought agricultural business properties bought those specifically for a reason. Rezoning a racetrack right next to those properties, to me, if it was in my backyard, I would have a significant concern about that as well. That was the intent for purchasing those properties to begin with. So, thanks for your time.
Thank you so much. I do have only one more speaker, so if you're here and would like to speak, please bring your information up to Sunny. Diana Von Holt.
Good morning, and thank you for allowing me to speak. I am a Fremont County resident, and I live on top of 8 Mile Hill. We're on Hole-in-the-Wall Road, and we bought our property about 13 years ago because of the beauty and the quietness and the wildlife. I am a retired licensed veterinary technician and wildlife rehabilitator, and we also board our animals at 8 Mile Ranch, and I have major concerns on the racetrack. I'm not opposed to racing. I've gone to races before. I'm not fearful of them at all, as was mentioned earlier by the folks. But the location is absolutely not acceptable and very inappropriate. For me, it's the residents that reside up there. It's like building a adult bookstore next to a church or a daycare. It's not appropriate for that location. These are residents, agricultural land, and that needs to be respected for those people. If we own around 35 acres, and across the road, if a racetrack was going to be built where we live up on Hole-in-the-Wall Road, which is right off of Highway 9, I would be very upset. The noise level, loudspeakers, lights, I would not be able to sit out in my backyard or on my patio and enjoy the night air or the animals or the beauty with that drone and the revving up and the racing around and the hum. And I can't imagine that any of you folks or the Chamber of Commerce person, I guess I would invite you to build a home up on the other side of the easement road and live up there and see what you then think or what your opinion is. It's easy to want to approve something when you don't live there. These folks, they can build it and go, and they live somewhere else. But the people that live right next to it, they have to put up with it, or they have to try to work around it or suffer with it, and that's not right. Our land is agricultural also, and I would not want right across our access road a racetrack built. I have concerns on alcohol being there, tailgate parties or something similar to that, and any other types of drugs that might be brought in. I don't know what type of clientele or people that are going to be there, but we know there's going to be a lot of cheering and a lot of hooraying, and I don't know what would go on during those times. Would they have fireworks at all at any point of a end of an event? Music, loudspeakers? How can any residents sit out in their yards or be in their living room or patio area with these things going on? I have real concerns about this, and also coming up 8 Mile Hill, there have been times that I've had
1 minute warning.
I've had to sit on the road 1 or 2 hours waiting for 8 Mile Hill to be cleared because of an accident. Sometimes a helicopter had to land to take away a critically injured person, or the road was blocked. So I've experienced that personally, about a 1 to 2 hour, or sometimes 20 minutes, sometimes anything more, or I had to take an alternate route to get to my place through the mountains up on Highway 9. So those are my concerns. I appreciate you listening to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. Larry Finney. Good morning.
Morning. I'm Larry Finney. Probably going to make a few enemies today, but that's all right. Everybody likes me. I think...
Could you raise the microphone a little, please?
I think we need things like this in this community. Like one people were saying that, we got kids growing up here. I have grandkids here that need to be this kind of experience going out there. We got drugs going on in this town, and we got to get away from that stuff. We got homeless people going around. We need things that our kids can do. People are concerned about the noise. Well, we have a helicopter up there. It makes all kinds of noise. Concerned about the animals. Well, that's we got to look at that as the situation. Traffic's going to happen no matter what. Do we want to detour to clear around our town and not have nothing here? I don't think so. My business depends on people coming here, buying property. Me staying alive, my grandkids staying alive. So we got to look at these situations. So I think you just got to go that route. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Larry.
Thank you. And finally, Lisa Marcy.
Morning.
Good morning, Lisa.
Okay, I wasn't going to talk. So I think it's a great idea for Canyon City. I think it's a terrible location. As soon as they started doing stuff, I live off Highway 9. I swerved in the middle of the road. So I just think it's a distraction to drivers. I drive that probably maybe 6 times a week. I own Royal Gorge Wellness in Canyon City. I don't think that the location would benefit anyone who lives nearby, especially the boarding. Be terrible for animals. I have dogs, and that kind of noise would be awful. I think if they do come to town, there's a ton of land that's for sale that's not right off the highway. So I would hope people would consider, or you guys would consider us who live on, have to go past there. I've already had to wait twice with the road closure this year. When I was younger growing up here, I worked on 8 Mile Hill, and I've seen fatal accidents happen, and it's been near that location. So I guess I just would hope that you would consider, really us who travel that every day, and even the tourists that travel that. And I guess for me, it's like with me swerving just to see what was going on, how many other people are going to be doing that? And then if people are curious, if they're pulling off the side of the road, then that's also dangerous. So yeah, the noise and all that, but for me, it's my safety. I drive that every day to go to work. So, and a lot of my clients drive down from Salida and the areas around, and it's a big distraction. I know I'm not the only one who's swerved. So that's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Lisa. Okay, final call. Is there anyone else who would like to speak from the public at this time? Okay, seeing none, we are going to close this public hearing. And we will turn now back to the applicant to ask for a response to any of the issues raised by public comment. I'm sorry, that's a very small space to work with.
I'd like my desk from home, please. Just kidding. Okay, so first of all, I've heard a lot about this is the wrong location, but this is, as Mr. Bandera mentioned, the 8 Mile tourism community. Let's talk about what's up there. And there's the wonderful dinosaur experiences. There's 2 significant rafting establishments, Echo Canyon with a restaurant and zip lining and rafting buses going in and out of there. And if you'll note on the accesses, so first of all, the buildings blend with the current buildings that are up there. That is 8 Mile and Echo and the glampers. This is that natural rustic wood type, so it'll contribute to and enhance that same community. There are 8 Mile has music and lights and all of that during the summertime hours. So it is open, and it has lights in the back. This is Paul Newman. Did you recognize him? For those of us who are old enough to know. What? I bet Cadence didn't know that was Paul Newman.
I bet he did.
I'll bet he did.
He's a race car fan.
He's a race car fan. I'm trying to get to the... Be patient, be patient. There's adjacent to 8 Mile is a helicopter tourism business that goes in and out. So regarding location, this is a good addition to the community. The dogs. The point of this slide was there's a dog, and they're racing on that track. That dog is not jumping. He's not on a leash. He actually looks like he wants to go out there and join them. But as was shown on the thermometer of noise levels, it's said that a study room has a higher noise level than these carts. Then another point of this is the little puppy. That is not a grown trained dog. That's a little puppy, and he is at the track, and he isn't being traumatized by the noise that's out there. CDOT reviewed this access, and the access is similar to the accesses of Echo Canyon, rafting, 8 Mile rafting. I'll get to the picture. This is not the improvement, this is the existing. And remember there, so see how they all have the same asphalt to dirt, and that is exactly what Royal Gorge Karting is going to have to do, and anything they do has to be reviewed by the engineers prior to construction and then after. So CDOT has reviewed the property.
Those are the only added clarifications that I have, but I would like Jim, Garrett, they can address the other in more detail for noise, lighting, materials.
Okay, I just made a few notes here. The first one on traffic. There's a lot of talk about traffic. Will we add to that? For me, I see a small percentage of the addition of traffic. What we're trying to do is capitalize on the traffic that is there. We're trying to work off the tourism people that are already there and traveling that road. So I don't see or don't agree with the argument that we're going to be adding a bunch of traffic. We'll be working with the Royal Gorge Bridge. We'll be working with the rafting people, the restaurant people, and trying to, the idea is to give those people or those tourists more options when they're here. Spend more money, pay more taxes, provide jobs for locals. So the traffic, in my mind, I think is a little bit of a moot point, but anyway, I just don't see that. Another note, someone commented that that area is zoned agriculture. That is not correct. It's not up there, but the 8 Mile Ranch is commercial. They have lights for their kennels.
What property are you talking about? The property where the carts are going to go?
Yeah, so I heard some comments that it was an agriculture area.
It is zoned agriculture.
But the properties around it, the KOA and the 8 Mile Ranch is commercial, correct?
So that property around that area is zoned agricultural forestry. The kennel has an SRU for the kennel.
Okay.
As this is zoned agriculture, and it's an allowable use within an agriculture zone is what's going on.
Understand. And same with the KOA? Got it. And then there was some questions about the 192 pit spots and semis. I'd like to address those. Those spots are 10 by 20. So semis are 8 by 120. So the idea of 190 plus semis coming in there is not realistic. You will get a person with a motorhome and a trailer, a motorhome anywhere from 30 to 40 feet, depending on and then maybe a 20-foot trailer. They'll take up 4 spots. So I just wanted to address the vision of 192 semis being in there. It's just not realistic. Anyway, let's see. Impact on local businesses. I think for me, in my experience of anywhere that I've built a track or I've seen a track go in, and it augments those businesses for many reasons. I mean, for an example, if you've got people in Colorado Springs, will they drive to the restaurant, by the rafting? Doubtful. Will they come go karting and then hit the restaurant? Probably. So I just don't think that as far as impacting the local businesses, I think it is very positive in my experience. And then the last thing that I made a note on was spark arresters. Spark arresters were designed for off-road vehicles traveling in sagebrush or grassed areas. We're not doing that. We're operating on an asphalt hard surface. So with that said, spark arresters doesn't make any difference because we're not in the environment they were designed for. But with that said, the 4-cycle rental engines do have a spark arrestor built into the exhaust. So, and the reason why they do that is because that engine is used in different platforms when it's imported, and that's an EPA government standard. But it's being used in a different format than anyway, so on the hard surface. So those were the few things I had.
All right, thank you.
Just touched on a few facts that Garrett did with the access and ingress. When we had a full house, my worst mistake I ever made was assuming that our presence would be known by our neighbors. And 300 feet away from the edge of our track were 10 soccer fields, 2 safe softball diamonds that had at least 1,000 kids every hour in all their tournaments. And when we showed that one big event, not once in 10 years did anybody know we even existed. So the most important thing that I learned getting into that whole thing was noise has nothing to do with what we did. The perception of noise had everything to do with what we did. And I wish that it was more of a factual statement, but the imposition or the hindrance on the animals is zero. Period. I mean, it really didn't matter. It's, you know, I understand kennels and I understand the whole business of wildlife management and everything. My whole life has been through that. But from the operation for 10 years as what is, not what if, nobody even, one complaint, and nobody even had an idea that we were even there. And my marketing budget had to go through the ceiling to try to get people to even come in. Being on the drive-through of a high tourist area is awesome. The traffic is not even going to be truly an impact in my mind, professionally. I wish an elementary school came to my Dairy Queen all at once, as so described. They trickle in, they trickle out, they're doing what they're doing, and usually, as Garrett said, it might be a motorhome, but in that B2B business relationship, they have the potential to fill up all the RV parks and be where they're supposed to be designed for them, and they can even walk down to the track because they've got their equipment on their stand, under their tent, and just carrying on the day, because that's the leg of the stool that is the worrisome part. The rest of it is just really a fun, family, great time. So those are the only points I need to compete.
All right, thank you. And finally?
I just have one quick comment on the lighting. I can't see that very good. Sorry. Okay, so I know there's concern about the kennel area. I think the kennel is south, correct? Correct. So you see .1, .1, .2, those numbers right there. So on a highway, it has to be 1. So like a roadway, a common roadway in any setting, has to have 1 foot candle. All these numbers are foot candle numbers.
Can we get you back to the microphone, please?
So all these numbers are foot candle numbers. So the edge of the property, I think, is right here. So this is less than a county road.
And please address the commissioners.
This is less
Thank
than
you.
a county road, I'm sorry. And also, these lights are not set in stone. We can put them in, we can put them closer to the track, we can put them on the other side of the track. This was just a proposed lighting layout that had the best uniformity of light for that specific area.
So
Okay.
basically, you're putting these lights on so you can get another 30, 45 minutes of track time? Is that what the,
I think it's a little longer than that.
Per business, I mean, normally the way the business would run is you're coming in to rent the cart and you're on the track for 8 to 10 minutes. Maybe 10 carts at the same time, running around and done. The lighting element would allow them to work after dark in a downcast manner that really doesn't diffuse lights off the property.
so why do you need lights on the track if you're just working on the cart?
And if you're going to talk back there, guys, we need to get the mic up here. This is also being recorded, so we need to be able to hear what you're saying. Thank you.
Okay, I'm a little confused on this light thing.
Yeah, so the idea would be to extend the day, depending on the month, 2 to 3 hours in the day. That's what we're looking at, is extending the day. So,
But it's still dusk. So you extend past dusk?
if we put lights in?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The application itself, I believe, Sean, would you like to address that? I believe the application itself is from, I think, 9 a.m. until dusk.
Till dusk.
Yeah, for me, I didn't do the application. All I'm saying is the lights in general for other facilities that I've built, or to extend the day. Depending on where you're at in the countries. In Florida, it's dark at 5. In Utah, it's dark at 8. It just depends on the country, and you try to extend it. So,
But I don't believe that's in our application.
It wasn't in the original application because...
Sir?
Please go to the microphone, identify yourself.
My name is Gordon Daphne. I'm one of the partners. The lighting plan was not in the original application because it came up after talking to existing tourist businesses in the area wanted an option for us to extend the hours so that we're not competing for the same tourists. So if I have a family that comes up, they don't have to choose between the bridge, they don't have to choose between rafting. So they go to the bridge, they go rafting, and they have an option to come to us. We have enough experience with hot weather karting to know that we need to be able to offer a different temperature format. So we wanted to add the lighting seriously because we failed to present it at the planning and zoning meeting efficient enough to have it take hold.
But it was discussed at the planning and zoning.
It was a side discussion.
Exhibit 1.1 clearly says the track will be open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. once the track is lighted. I know there are other places that do speak to 9 a.m. to dusk.
Correct.
So that 9 p.m. is not going to give anyone an additional 2 or 3 hours here in Canyon City, Colorado.
We wanted the lighting to extend maximum till midnight, so we could sell rides till 9 and fulfill those rides till midnight.
So now we're going to midnight? When did that happen?
That's not in the
It's
application.
not in the application.
It's not in the original application, no.
That's what we're talking about here.
All right.
is the original
That's what we
application.
have before us. Okay?
So I have some questions, if I may, Madam Chair.
Sure.
For whoever of you that wants to answer them, please come to the microphone. Part of the problem that I have the same mindset as some of these folks that are against the location because of the traffic on Highway 50. I've been fighting for 2.5 years myself with CDOT to try to make that 8 Mile Hill safer because it's dangerous. We have several accidents up there throughout the year, and several of them are fatal. So when you come up the 8 Mile Hill headed east and you're right at the crest of that hill, this blind spot these guys have mentioned is true. It's there. It's not that you're going to create more traffic. It's that the traffic that is going by or going to that property is going to cause, in my mind, a problem. I have talked to CDOT since you guys went to the planning department and had them review the permit again because I wanted to make sure that the information that they had was correct, and they went off of what you guys have in the original application, which is 66 cars a day. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's an average over the year,
Okay.
yeah.
So when you have these events, and that's why I asked about this earlier, when you have these events, is that more than 66 cars a day? You've got the participants, you've got people that may be coming looky-looing, you've got people that live there going by, you've got people that are coming to watch. You've got a traffic influx, one way or the other, and they are turning off of a very busy road that is 65 miles an hour, and it shortly after on the east turns to 55 miles an hour. So so a left turn is the dangerous ones. If it was right in and right out, it wouldn't be as bad, in my opinion. But there's a huge influx in that. So, and I guess the perception of the parking lot is all kind of tied together. You got 190 spots. You got 60 or 40 regular parking spots, I believe it is. The traffic is going to be a huge influx, no matter how you look at it. So the location, in my eyes, and I think that's what these other people are talking about as well, is off of Highway 50, right at the apex of a hill, and it is a dangerous spot.
There exists a 572-foot turning lane, and it's not at the apex of the hill. It is further
Just past
up
it.
the hill.
Yeah, it's just past it.
And there's 572 feet of turning lane that exists there, so there is plenty of turning lane. And not only that, the existing businesses on that side use that, and I haven't heard of any accidents being caused to turn into Mountain View RV Park or 8 Mile.
Doug Snyder might argue with that.
Yeah.
So,
okay. I have another question. This kind of came up because of concerns of the folks too. What is your plan for dust suppression in the parking lot that's going to be gravel?
We can, you know, if it becomes an issue, we can add water truck and keep it wet.
It's not if, it will. I live on a dirt road, a gravel road.
That parking lot itself is not accessed only for special events, typically.
The big parking lot?
The big parking lot. So it would be used for club events, for the people that we have for club events, but the main source of revenue for this project is for the rental track, which is the parking lot for the rental track is just south of the buildings.
And so CDOT's requiring you pave 50 feet, is that correct?
Yeah.
After that 50 feet, how much dirt is there to that track, to that parking lot?
Probably 30 feet.
That's going to get dusty as well. The other question I have is, are there going to be loudspeakers around the track?
No.
Are there going to be speakers at the track at all, where there's stuff projected out?
No. And
Okay.
I would like to just add, you know, this is our form of employment for both me and my partner. We do reside in Colorado, and we make our livelihoods based on what we do. We don't have another form of income. So we're looking to invest into the areas that we live. Yes, we don't reside in Fremont County, but we do reside in Park County and in Littleton.
Okay.
So we do make our living from this.
And then I have one more comment, I guess. Reading what the fire department they're recommending a 30,000 gallon cistern for the fire suppression, to answer the question that somebody had.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Just one quick comment on the gravel. So understand the road is one issue, right, at 15, 20, 30 miles an hour, but a parking lot area, I think, is needs to be thought about a little bit different, because you're not talking about the speed you are on one of those roads. And from what I've seen in the area, as we were looking at the design, this is pretty standard through what other people are doing in that area, the rafting and other businesses, right? So I was just wanted to make that comment.
Okay. Commissioner Payne?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It seems to me like we got two different issues here with your tourists and your rental carts, and you say in the Planning Commission it was 90% of your business?
Yeah, I would say 90, yeah.
Approximately.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have these club events.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to bring in a whole lot of traffic. And you say 10 to 12 a year?
Yes, on the local club events, I would say, depending on the season, I'm not familiar with this area 100%, but I would say 10 to 12 a year, yeah.
It would seem to me like, in my mind, we're going to have a separate temporary use permit just on these big events on top of the SRU. But that is something we can discuss because I think we have two different things here as far as your rentals for just tourists and then these club events. So I'm just going to put that out there that may be something we need to discuss.
Just a quick comment on, the only thing I would argue about that is we're looking at these club events, and you can look these up or we can bring these to you. Club events across the country have an average of 40 to 60 racers. So you're talking at worst case scenario 60 vehicles, but most people come with multiple people in the car. So if you're talking about 60 racers, you're talking about 20 to 25 trailers. So that is under our idea of what we would have in our average anyway. So I would argue that the traffic for the club side is not any more or possibly even less than the daily operation of the rental side.
But then you're saying you have 190 spaces that you're going to rent out on this thing.
But this is what you guys need to understand is if you have 190 spots.
Yeah, I understand that, and it's going to be 4 or 5. Yeah,
correct.
But still.
Can I speak to the 190 spaces as well? When we started this project, we talked to planning and zoning, and they said, whatever you do, put whatever needs to be in there in the beginning so that we're not adding stuff after. When we went to do the drainage plan, the drainage engineer said, I need to know every exact detail associated with the property so I can design a drainage plan suitable for the project. And this is how this came up, this was future. This was for the drainage plan. So we had to think ahead in order to get to this point. It wasn't because we wanted 1 million people and 1 million parking spots. We had to be up front with all that information so that we could get the drainage plan correct.
Okay.
And to touch on that, yes, this is expansion. The idea, if I can grab the pointer here, the idea, I mean, we don't want to spend the money on something we don't want, or not going to need till the future. So if this needs to, and I'll have to get with the engineer, the drainage engineer, but if this just needs to be all gravel here and not considered pit spots, fine. We wouldn't expand to that till 2, 3, 4 years down the road anyway. But as Gord said, the drainage based on, because we had some holding ponds and some other stuff around here, when we moved all that out, he needed all this for drainage to capture whatever he needed to, whatever was coming off this track, he needed to capture in this area. So he's the one that put that, basically asked us to design that in that way. So.
Okay, then on your fuel, your 325-gallon tank, that is just for your carts? You're not selling any of that?
Correct. There's no fuel being sold on site. That is a double wall mobile tank that'll be to refuel the rental carts.
Well, I know we've had a couple folks talk about some kind of a study, maybe a traffic study of some kind. I think I'd throw that out there too, maybe a CDOT traffic count for 2 years on this to see what might they come up with. I'll just throw that out there, that maybe that's something we need to look at also. I think we've talked about everything else. I will echo Commissioner McFall. He's worked a couple years, especially the folks that live up there. That crest of that hill, that is a dangerous spot. You can't get around it. And CDOT's worked hard on it. Commissioner McFall's worked hard on it, trying to get that safe. And this is going to be right there. And so it is a concern. And you can't sugarcoat it. It's a concern. Okay. It's all yours.
Is that it? I also had an entire list of questions, but I think between the audience and your responses already and my fellow commissioners, I think I'm good with
Pretty
my
much got 'em.
questions and answers. Does the applicant have anything else they would like to address at this time?
And I understand the CDOT access. So is there a way, speaking to what Commissioner Payne mentioned, this is the current, based on the current review, the access permit that Ms. Sword offered to the applicant. As you proceed with improvements or other sort of safety improvements, widening of the road up in that area, would all of the property owners with access have to possibly improve their accesses or do something else to be more accommodating for safety? I mean, I'm sure that the applicant, as everybody else up there, would participate in those improvements or whatever the process is to let the property owners know it's time to improve when you make progress with CDOT, Commissioner McFall.
Anything's
I'm-
possible.
yeah.
I mean, it may be turning lanes all the way through that
Exactly.
corridor on top of the hill. I don't know.
Yes.
Yet. We're not quite there. We're just working on it, but it starts at the bottom of the hill. So
Sure. But I'm sure that the applicant, because their whole industry is safe driving
you got to
techniques.
get there first, though.
Yes,
Yeah.
well, but the point is that they understand what that is.
Yeah.
And so they would be willing to accommodate CDOT on whatever is necessary when things change and as it progresses for the safety of the community up there.
Okay.
Okay, Madam Chair, we've had a lot of information here to digest. I move that we table this SRU 19-001, and should it be for 2 weeks, our next meeting?
Our next meeting is March 10th.
Okay, to March 10th, so we can kind of digest this stuff and get some findings.
This kind of does feel to me also like another hearing like we had 2 weeks ago when we chose at that time to table a final decision until we had the opportunity to sit down and, as Commissioner Payne said, kind of digest everything that we've heard today. I think that makes a lot of sense. It gives us the opportunity to review things in our own minds, to take another look, a second look, a third look, a fourth look, whatever it might take at this particular application. We don't always do things very quickly, but we try very, very hard to get them right when we do them. So the motion is to table this to be able to create a set of findings until our next meeting, which is at 9:30 a.m. March 10th. Is there a second? That's what I was waiting for.
I will second that, and I'll note that I wore out one pen taking notes. So there is a lot of information that we got to go through, and like I said earlier with the other public hearing is, you got to listen to both sides of the whole story, and then make a determination off of what's right for everybody,
So that was a second?
That was a second.
All right. It has been moved and seconded to table this decision until our next meeting at 9:30 a.m. Tuesday, March 10th, in order for us to create a set of findings to go along with this decision. Is there further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Motion carries.
We do continue to have 2 other additional pieces of new business. If you're not staying for those, I would ask that you exit very quietly so we may get on with our meeting. Thank you. Yeah, we'll give you about 30 seconds, and then we're going to proceed. All right, up next, item 5 under new business is resolution number 14, appropriating additional sums of money to defray expenses in excess of amounts budgeted for and appropriated by Fremont County, Colorado for the budget year ending December 31st, 2019. We turn again to our county manager, who is also our financial expert, Sunny Bryant.
Yes, so this is an annual resolution that we do throughout the year. We are awarded additional grants, there's additional programs that come through, or we have things that come up that we didn't necessarily know about when we're doing budgeting. And so the resolution, there's 6 different funds that we are requesting an amendment of. General fund, which we did have a couple of additional projects and programs that came through there. The lodging tax fund, they had expenditures that had come through. Sales and use tax fund, the self-funded insurance were additional claims that we had to process. The marijuana enforcement fund is actually a grant that we received from the state of Colorado, so we created a new fund for that. We obviously didn't have that information during budget time. And then restricted funds was grant revenues that were received by the clerk's office. So we're requesting a budget amendment in a total of $831,000. And all of those funds have been covered either by, or actually most of them are grant funds that were received.
All right, thank you, Sunny. As Sunny did mention, this is a typical thing that we do this time every year, so I don't see anything unusual here. Gentlemen, your wishes?
Madam Chair, I don't see anything unusual either. I move to approve resolution number 14, appropriating additional funds, sums of money to defray expenses in excess of the amounts budgeted for the appropriated Fremont County, Colorado budget year ending December 31st, 2019.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 14 as described above. Further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And our final item of business today is resolution number 15, authorizing the transfer of appropriated funds between the various funds of Fremont County, Colorado for the budget year ending December 31st of 2019. Once again, we call on Sunny.
And so the majority of these items were actually budgeted, but they are transfers between funds. And so part of our process is we have to have a resolution authorizing those transfers, even though they were budgeted items. And so there was a total of $5,387,028 that were transferred between the various funds through the county. And so those numbers are listed there. I'm happy to explain any of them if you have any questions.
Questions, gentlemen? This is another normal piece of business that we do about this time every year. So,
Yes,
Madam Chair, I move that we approve resolution number 15, authorizing the transfer of appropriated funds between the various funds of Fremont County, Colorado for the budget year ending December 31st, 2019.
Second.
it has been moved and seconded to approve resolution 15 as just described. Is there further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Motion carries.
There being no further business to come before this board, we are adjourned.